self-preservation. You don't know when your time is coming. You don't know what was going to happen at that moment. But the Most High just put into me, let it be known. Let it be known I see what you're doing. Let it be known that I'm watching you. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to make the move that you're thinking you're going to move. As a young man stood there with his hand in his jacket, it was time to go. They watched me as I watched them. They got in the car and they left. And I kind of looked at Ken. I said, were you not paying attention? Did you not see what was going on? I said, they was getting ready to rob you, dude. And we got to be careful because we don't know when this next time is coming. You know, the Most High, he protected us by allowing me to see what was happening. You know, so, and I gave him thanks because experience and listening to his voice will carry you far. Because it could have went a whole different direction. Because it could have went down a whole different way. But me guarding my daughter put something in my mind that a few weeks ago somebody told me. They told me I was a spiritual gatekeeper. They said that when somebody says something against the word, I always have to have something to say. And I'm like, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? I'm like, as a teacher, as a student, because every teacher should be a student. As a teacher, and I see you saying things that are not correct with the scriptures, I'm supposed to point this out to you. When I see you using philosophy, your ideas, my I thinks, or in my opinion, or I feel like, I'm supposed to guard that gate. I'm supposed to stop you in your tracks and not allow what you're trying to put in the word to get in the word. And they're like, well, you're not supposed to gatekeep. And I was like, well, why don't you go to Chronicles? What did David say outside the temple gates? Those gatekeepers. David himself said, I'd rather be a gatekeeper, a keeper of the door, than not to be in the presence of my Father. Nehemiah, he did what? He shut the gates. He had the gatekeepers shut the gates to keep that evil thing out when they were trying to pollute the Shabbat. We got to guard Yah's word. This is what he put us here for. We can't allow people just to say what they want to say when it's out of context, when it's out of place. We can't allow people to make Yah's word vain, because that's what we do. Whenever we got to think about something and say that, in my opinion, we have just put Yah's word to the side and said that my word is more important. My thoughts are more important than Yah's. No, not at all, not ever. I'd rather be a keeper of the door than not be in Yah's presence. And hallelujah. It's been a week, but I'm here. It's been a trial, but I'm still standing strong. Sometimes that body hurts, but I'm still using every part of it. I'm telling you, sometimes trying to get down to get something, getting that up, that rise up is a whole different ball game. Easy to get down there, but getting up, oh my goodness. But I'm here. And I want to thank Yah for everything that he's done in my life. The good and the bad. Because you know he will allow bad to happen to you so he can get your attention. So he can straighten you up and bring you around right. What does the word say? When you have an unruly son, what you supposed to do? No, the word says in the end, and we get that son that's really unruly, you turn him over to Hashatan, that he may be what? That he may be saved. Sometimes it takes that harsh butt whipping to get saved. And I'm thanking Yah that he whipped me real good. Because without it, I don't know where I would be right now. I'm being honest. Without it, I have no clue where I would be, what I would be doing right now. But I seriously doubt it would have been right here. I thank him for bringing me out of the darkness, even though I had an understanding, because believe it or not, I grew up keeping the Shabbat. I grew up keeping the holy days. I grew up doing everything that we talk about, but it did not hit me here. It didn't set home until I was in my 30s. And then when it set home, I was like, man, what in the world have I been doing? It was like looking in the mirror like, who the heck are you? No. I had to make a change. It took a while. Took some stumbles, took some falling, but change came. And I thank the Most High that he saw enough in me that he didn't give up on me like the rest of the world did. My mother gave up. My father gave up. So many people gave up on me in my life. But there was only two to bear witness. My Father in heaven, my grandmother, because she never stopped praying. I'm telling you, I came a long way. But I'm happy to be here. Hallelujah. 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 Will there be one more testimony before we begin? Just one? There we go. Come on. Are we? Oh, go ahead. When did we do that? I didn't do it.
Okay. Shabbat shalom, y'all. I was not going to talk. I promise I wasn't, but the Spirit keep on choking me up, and I was like, all right, well, if he say one more person can say something, I'll do it. And of course you did. So I'm learning to be obedient, right? So got a testimony. 3 months ago, we lost our son, right? A lot of people here know, whatever. So I struggled. I did struggle with praying, struggle with reading the word and stuff, because I didn't understand that why could this happen? You know, I didn't have no understanding. I hear all the good things people saying and stuff like that, but it's like, why did you have to take my son away? I didn't understand it. But let me backing off of what you said, sometimes things happen to open our eyes to see different things, because a lot of times, and I can be honest, I'll be disobedient on stuff, thinking I'm doing things right, but I be doing things wrong. Like, you know, I might do things my way instead of the Most High way. Or I'll be like, okay, I'll get to that. You know, I'll get to that. Keep pushing it off. But what this has taught me is, as you said too, time is not guaranteed for nobody. We don't know when our time is up or anything. So we have to make sure we be obedient. We have to make sure we listen to the Holy Spirit. We got to make sure we walk in his walk. We're going to either do it or not. Those are the only options we have. You know, so for me, this is teaching me a different way of looking at things. You know, I might read the word and stuff and think like, you know, because in that moment I was thinking like, you know, we was going to have a Lazarus moment or we was going to have a Jonah moment. None of those happened. So it kind of made me feel not bitter, but it definitely made me feel some type of way. But I realized that's their story. Like now my son has a whole different story. And then from that, we have to sit up there. We got to, we ask to be vessels, right? We ask to be vessels for the Most High. We ask of this. However, when he give us an assignment, for me, I'm speaking for me, I don't really do it. You know, I be disobedient because I be thinking, I got time. My son was 24. I'm thinking, I got time. I can do this. I'll do this day. Okay, that day come. All right, I'm tired. I'm going to push it off to this day. We don't have time. We don't know when our time is up. You know, so we got to make sure, regardless of what, and not just talking about it. People will talk to you like, pray. Yeah, that sounds good. But if I'm just praying and I ain't doing nothing, what is it doing? It ain't doing nothing for me. You know, so I'm learning. The Most High gave me an assignment, and Matthew 25 is hitting me super duper hard. And Monday, I know people like, oh, I don't celebrate birthdays, whatever. I ain't asked you. But my thing was this. My son would have been 25 Monday. The thing was, the Holy Spirit gave me, we fed the homeless. It was amazing. we spoke a word, just kind of going off. He had a song called Pure, and I love that song. Every time I think about him, I want to hear his voice, I listen to the song. But it just let me know we got to walk this walk with a pure heart. You know, we can't be sitting up here faking a funk. We can't. You know, we can't keep pushing things off, thinking we got time. We got to do it right. And today, that the day we woke up today, and it's a blessing because we are not like, we can do something better. We can do something different, being more obedient and stuff. So the fact that we're here, my kids are here, like, that's a blessing to me. My husband is here with me. That's a blessing to me. Like, to see, like, you know, we got to keep pushing, and we cannot sit up there and let none of this. It's horrible thing that it happened. And yes, we have our moments. But the blessing of it is, like, we understand we got an assignment here on earth, our purpose. And I always talk to my family, like, yeah, we got to know our purpose. We got to know our purpose. Again, I was being disobedient because I'm like, all right, he told you, he give you a gift, he give you this and that, but you don't do nothing with it. So what's the point of having it? And now I'm like, hold on. I'm sorry. Please make sure you don't take that from me, you know. But just the whole thing on time, whatever, you know, people can be in here today and it don't mean nothing because when they go outside, they might do something different. I'm telling y'all, we don't know the time when our timeline is up. So let's make sure we stay right, stay on that straight and narrow. Don't swivel, don't swerve, and let's get it, y'all.
All praises. Are we good back there? Gotcha. Well, while that's loading up, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? All praises. Man, I'm so glad to see y'all come up. It means a lot to me. I've been looking forward to it. Yeah, this is what it's about. Yeah, this is what it's about. Like, so often we see, especially within this quote unquote walk, like, there's so much division, divisiveness that takes place, and it's so much strife and discord between this camp and that camp. It's so many things that you'll see, and it's like when you can find mishpachah that you can be in unity with, like, that's everything, because this is what it's about. Like, believe it or not, like, we need one another, you know what I mean? And we all trying to get to a certain destination, and we want to get there together if it be God's will. And we know that's his will. It ain't his desire that any should perish. So, yeah, this is everything. The testimonies, man, it's everything. Like, yeah, it's everything. So, yeah. That last testimony, it really, like, it hits me on a whole nother level. Like, I'm really, believe it or not, kind of like an empath. And so it's like, yeah, I gotta, like, settle myself off of that one. But I do appreciate you sharing it, sister. For sure. Because you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, we take for granted so many things that we really can't take for granted, because all we got is now. And so the objective is to do the best that you can with the time that you got. That's all we can do. Yeah, all praises. Yeah. How we looking back there? We good now? Still loading. Let me Okay, yeah. Let me jump out and then. All praises. All praises. So today's lesson is kind of a meditation. Just some things for us to chew on, as we go through the day to day. What's in your wilderness? So, kind of the idea behind it is, what can we understand from the cycle of the wilderness, right? And then what can we take from their cycle and then apply it to us today? So, let's see. All right, so this is my little disclaimer. The scriptures expressed in the study are those of the author and not my own. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, so guidelines for the lesson: we want to let all things be done with decency and order. This will help us better serve one another. So these lessons are intended to be interactive. So please ask all questions, make statements in a microphone so that everybody can hear you. So like we said earlier, this is going online. And if y'all don't say it in the mic, it's just going to be dead online, right? They're not going to hear anything. So, yeah, definitely want it to be in a microphone. We want to be mindful of the time, so please try to limit the responses to 60 seconds or less. That's a soft rule. It ain't no hard rule. But just in the spirit of being mindful of the time, because we got a packed house today. So this will give others an opportunity to ask questions and give input. We want to stay on topic, so if you have questions that don't pertain to the topic of the lesson, please hold those until after the study. This will help us better serve your question and give it the proper attention it deserves. And if we move on from a point you don't get a chance to ask your question or make your statement, if by the end of the study it still hasn't been addressed, please hold this till the end of the study and we can revisit it. All right, so Hebrews 4:11. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. For the word of Elohim is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of being and spirit and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him with whom is our account. Right? So, I mean, like y'all used to hearing me say this every week. Before we know it, we're going to be restarting the year. And, Father willing, we get another opportunity to keep going through these rehearsals, these cycles with his feast days and everything else. But the objective behind it is not that we wait to get ready. The objective is that we stay ready so that we don't have to get ready, right? So this is a thing that we start now, right? Keep in mind that this is a season of sowing seeds. But at some point, season's going to change and there's going to be a time for reaping, right? So just, like I said, keep all that in mind. Before we jump into this lesson, let me ask a question. I'm going to throw a question out there to the room. Like I said, it's meant to be interactive, okay? So what can y'all tell me about a kingdom? Like, what is a kingdom? Michael, get ready. You on track them miles today. Hope you got the shoes laced up.
The question is, what is a kingdom?
What is a kingdom?
It is an established power ruled by a royal family with laws, people or servants. It can be a monarchy. That's what I got for now.
All praises. I mean, we spot on.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I would say the kingdom is a multifaceted, invisible place that exists now, that is attainable through his Ruach. It is a movement that's happening on the earth today, and will be continued on forever.
All praises.
I would say it's a house full of family. Going back to the lessons we've been on each week, starting in the garden, and Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the house. And we working our way back into the house. We trying to get back home. It's a house.
All praises. So it pretty much hitting it all on the head, right? Like a kingdom is one. There has to be when we look at the word the etymology of the word, right? We talking about king, and then dom, as in like his domain or his dominion, right? So if there's a king, then you break it down from there. From that point, then you know that there's rules for this kingdom, right? Because this kingdom comes with his dominion, right? So then you go from that to now you got to look at, well, there's individuals, right? There's servants, if you will, citizens, if you will, that make up this kingdom, right? And then we're talking about the territory, right? So keep all of this in mind to more Hoshea's point of now from that, imagine how this is going to work in the spiritual level, right? Because this is a nugget. What he said is, same words of Mashiach, there's an aspect of that exists today, right? That is in our midst today, right? So how many of us understand that the kingdom is something that has to be built, right? This is not just you wake up one day, all the work is done, and it's like the picture on Good Times. We just gonna dance and have fun. Like that's not how this kingdom is coming. That's not how this kingdom works, right? So we know from Deuteronomy 30, we know from Ezekiel chapter 11, right, that there's a building process, and that process starts with us being where? Dispersed in the captivity, right? Because another part of the kingdom is you understand that it's just like when foreigners come here, they can't just cross the border and just because they over here, right? We hearing it every other day. Build the wall and everything else, right? Father's kingdom worked the same way. Like you got to be granted citizenship in this place. How we gonna do that? So, and you realize that making it into this place, the citizenship comes first before you can enter, right? Like he's vetting at the door. So I say all of that to say that there's a process that the Father does to get us prepared to be able to enter into this place, because that is his desire. But what we don't see is that there's a pattern. The first time that he did it, he didn't just take us straight into the promised land. It would have been foolish to do it, because if he did it, we would have done exactly what we was doing in the wilderness in the promised land, right? Now this whole place that he's trying to build and establish for his name's sake, just like we did, is now getting blasphemed amongst all of the other nations, because we weren't worthy citizens in this place, right? I see your hand, Elder. What you got?
I was just thinking that for every kingdom, there's subjects. So in order to be part of that kingdom, we are, how do I want to put this? Auditioning for a place in that kingdom.
All praises. So, as we go throughout this lesson, we're going to pivot off of that, but I want y'all to keep it in mind, and I want you to ask yourself and think, what is it that I can do today to help establish and build this kingdom, right? Because a lot of times we just sit down and we waiting, you know, and we know he going to gather us up, and however we think that process is going to take place, right? We looking forward to this, but is there really preparation that's being done on our part where we're thinking and understanding that, no, we have a role in this being built, and that starts now. Like, that's not you wait until the kingdom comes and then, or he's just going to let us in there. Like, no, this is something that starts now, and if you've been busy now, right, once that part of it comes, then you enter in, right? But there's always going to be a level of work to be done. Even Adam in the garden had works that still needed to be done, right? So just keep all of that in mind. Because we're going to see that he uses this to shape us up and get us ready to enter in. So let me ask y'all, when y'all look to the right, what do y'all see? Okay. I'm hearing desert, wilderness, mountains. Right? Okay, clarity. The sky is clear. All praises. Desolation. Oh, okay. That's interesting, sis. That's interesting. Desolation. Anybody got anything else? Yeah, you know. Okay, potential. Okay, all praises. So, this is the wilderness, right? This is what they trekked through. When they left out of, now, have we seen Egypt? Like, Egypt still look cold to this day. It's still a tourist site to this day, right? And it's been, like, them pyramids and all of that stuff been sitting there, like, thousands of years. Imagine how it looked back then. At its peak, at its pinnacle. This is the place to be, so you would think. I mean, I guess it's the place to be if you ain't us. But this is all that they know. Same like here, right? This is all that they know. This is all that I know. This place is all that I know. Good, bad, indifferent. Like, this is all that I know. So, imagine leaving from here with all of the amenities that we got, right? Like, you hit the faucet, and you got two levers on it, right? Make it hot or cold or anything else in between, right? You got electricity, hit the light switch. Anything that can bring you comfort in this life is attainable. From a carnal standpoint, it's attainable here in this kingdom, if you will, right? So imagine leaving out of that and then you out there. And you just, I mean, ain't a grocery store, ain't a Walmart, Wally World ain't out there, Popeyes, ain't no nothing. And now everything that you need, you got to rely on the Most High. Like, truly, you got to rely on the Most High. Because you stray too far from the camp, and that's a dead man walking. So it's just something to think about, right? I want us to put ourselves in that place. And then I also want us to see that the Most High is still moving in the same way, even in the midst of this captivity, like he's still moving in the same way if we have eyes to see it. All right, so What's in your wilderness? All right, so the word for wilderness, right, is midbar. Praises. So it's midbar. It's from H1696 in the sense of driving, a pasture that is an open field where cattle are driven, by implication a desert. Also, speech, including its organs, and what they mean by there is just talking about your mouth, right? And then you got the desert, the south, right? This is the wilderness, right? Brown Drivers Bridge is a wilderness, a pasture, an uninhabited land. There are large tracts of the wilderness, and these, this is generally outside of the city, right? I mean, with the exception of we got Brother Yakinan. I don't see him in here now. I wish he was here. I tease him and say, ask him. I wonder if he's listening. If he chopped up one of them turkeys. No, I'm saying, I just want to make sure because, it was that day a couple days ago. Oh, yeah. But wilderness is a joke because he in the city, but he may as well be in the wilderness. But this is the wilderness, right? So keep in mind that this is an uninhabited place. This means that there may be a level of isolation that comes with being in the wilderness. All right, so now let me put this in perspective. Let me ask y'all. When y'all came into the walk, did y'all ever notice there was a period that felt like isolation? Right? Especially in this season and in we going into the holiday season, right? Like this is where everybody that we know moving one way, and then it's like, nah, like my spirit is convicting me. I can't take part in that. Right? So then sometimes you end up feeling isolated, like, man, I'm just in this all by myself. And for me, when I first came into this, I was just about the only person. Like my house, me and my wife, we was the only ones that we knew that was in this. And we was trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? So we really felt isolated. But it was that same process that got us where we are today. So the root of this word, 1696, debar, perhaps properly to arrange. All right, so something about this wilderness, the root of it is to arrange, okay? But used figuratively of words to speak, rarely in a destructive sense to subdue, to answer, to appoint, bid, to command, right? We get it. I want us to focus on that part of something about it is arranging something, though. I'm gonna go back. So it's the same. It's midbar. It's just it has the mem added in front of it. Okay, and then this is the root of the word where we're going to it is the bar. All right. I would encourage for those who haven't done it, do a word study. Like just do a word study on this word because you don't see it's so many connections, right? So this is the word for a word, right? So when we say like the 10 commandments, if you will, the word there's the bar. These are 10 debarim, 10 matters, 10 words, right? Or 10 arrangements. It's other words that are connected to this that you'll find interesting, like the word for a bee. And you ask, like, okay, so he's saying something about his word being sweet like honey, but the word is also like a bee is the same word, has the same root word as the word for word, and the same root word as the word for wilderness. So, yeah. You got something, Knock, or? Okay, all praises. All praises. So, I'm going to look at this pictographically. The dalet is a picture of a door. The bet is a picture of a tent floor plan. And it symbolizes a house and the family that dwells in the house. And then a resh is a picture of the head of a man. It represents the head is in the chief position, leadership, and thought. Okay? So, when we put this together, right, let me know if I need to say this again, all right? But when we put this together, could it be that the mead bar or the wilderness represents a water or a chaos, right? To your thoughts that opens the door to the Father's house, right? So what I'm realizing that I should have done is put the whole word all in one. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. So I should have put the whole word there, right? So now the mem is a picture of waves of water, right, which could also represent chaos. In Hebrew, it is often prefixed to the beginning of a word, meaning from, right? So the mem is added to the beginning of a word, of the word dabar, which means word in Hebrew. So what I'm getting at, like I said, forgive me, I'm not doing a very good job at explaining this. But what I'm trying to get at is that it's something about the wilderness that is supposed to direct you back to the word, right? So that's what's at the center of this wilderness is the word. All praises. Go ahead, Art.
So the mem represents reflection, the waters from above, from the waters from beneath.
All
So
praises.
even in looking at the reflection, if you reflect on the word, it leads you back to the chief or to the Most High. It's a reflection also. I just wanted to add that.
All praises. Absolutely. All praises. All praises. So something about this is it's an arrangement, right? Like you said, and when you think about it, the goal of it is that you get yourself in order in this process, right? Okay. So why did the Most High take the people through the wilderness? That's the question, right? Now, and if we can understand why he took them through this wilderness, then we'll understand why when we start going through these quote unquote wilderness periods in our lives, that there's a method to the madness, if you will, right? There's a reason of why he's bringing us through it, if we'll see it. All right, so I'm asking that to the room. Why did he bring us through the wilderness? Sister Kim.
I would say for any of us to this day, to establish character, his character mainly, so we can ultimately end up reflecting, as Ox said, reflecting him. So we have to go through. We have to go through some things. We have to be pruned and pressed down, and, we have to be molded and, made over so we can reflect him.
All praises.
I think the wilderness process was also in a form of a detox, and it was supposed to be only a temporary situation. It was not supposed to be long term. We were coming out of Egypt, and he wanted us to purge that lifestyle out of us. We were there for a long time. So we went from one master to another. So, okay, if you are agreeing to be mine, there's some things you're going to have to learn from me now. I know you've been listening to them. You look like them. You eat like them. Now it's time to look like me and walk like me. So let me give you a moment to get it out your system. And then let me show you all that you've been praying for. But, of course, we know what happened along the way. So I think that's what that was.
All praises. Ryan.
Yeah, I can see it as a trying period. Like Sister said, like they come out, they have to be cleansed, right? So what you can see on the way there, you see a washing. You also see a period of them not eating and drinking, so a fasting. I mentioned a reflection. So when they get there, they receive commandments. And just like for us today, we are to take these commandments and they right here in front of you. How do you measure up? So when I get this is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to walk. This is your reflection, seeing yourself. So when you self-reflect,
The only thing you can look at is his Torah. This is how we're supposed to move.
All praises. So what was they going through, right? Because as we know, when they got out there to the wilderness, something happened where they didn't have that same energy as when they went out into it. Like, these are two completely different mindsets, right? When they walked out, you see singing, dancing, right? All praises. But then when they got there in the wilderness, something happened that changed that whole perspective from praises to cursings, right? Not realizing that this whole process is something that's designed, like it is specifically designed to prepare you for entering into the land of the promise. So Exodus 1 and 8, it says, Then a new king arose over Mizraim or Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. So what was his fear? Being overpowered, right? He said that these people are what? They're more numerous and stronger than we are. So the enemy knew this, but did they know this? Okay, all praises. So, and he said to his people, See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be, when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land. So they set slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with harshness. So how did they serve? Harshness. Wasn't nothing easy about this, right? And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. All their work which they made them do was with harshness. Verse 22, And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, Throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. So on top of the harsh day-to-day labor, they taking your babies and throwing them into the Nile. Really think about this and put yourself there, right? So you have a large motivation to want to be out of this place. But it's something about the wilderness that made you want to turn back to this. But again, the wilderness is something that's designed it's supposedly to prepare you for the land of the promise, right? So now, if the wilderness was that difficult, something tells me something about this wilderness and something about this kingdom, right, that the Most High is not playing with. No, I really want to make sure that none of that old stuff comes into this place, right? And this is the weight that is tied to what it means to be called his. Like, this ain't something to just play with, right? Like, he's taking us through all of this just so that we can be worthy of walking as citizens within this place. Do we ever stop and really think about like the weight of this covenant, that the creator of all things, he will be our Elohim and will be his people? Like, really think about the weight of that. And he said, out of all of the nations of the earth, like, all of this is mine, but I'm choosing y'all to represent me, the creator of all things. Like, nah, there's a weight to this thing. Going back to Uncle T's point earlier, like, no, there's a weight to this thing. So we see how bad it is. Exodus 3 and 7. And Yahuwah said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mizraim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. So now we're starting to get a peek at the character of the Most High. right? He said, what? No, I see y'all. And not only do I see y'all, I'm going to do something about it because I care for you. Are we still expecting to? I'm expecting to see some kind of deliverance. Like, if this is as good as it gets, if this kingdom is as good as it gets, this ain't it. This ain't living. Like, this ain't it. So we gotta still hope and believe that he's still looking down and seeing our cries, seeing the sorrows, and he's gonna do something about it in his timing. He says, and I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up from that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. So notice here the people were slaves in a foreign land. They were bitter because of the conditions in which they were subjected to. Their existence was full of sorrow and pain in a place where there was no future for them. So each person was in bondage. Their sons were being killed before their eyes, which would subsequently cut them off from being a people, and their daughters were left only to be taken by their oppressors. Like, y'all realize that, right? Like, the daughters didn't get it no better. Like, they left the daughters just so that they can be taken. Who else they gonna marry except the Egyptians? Like, so imagine, again, I want you to put yourself in their shoes. And it's like, man, what hope is there in this place? But again, I'm gonna echo myself and say it was something about the wilderness that still made them, knowing all of this and having lived all of this, tuck tail and say, nah, we want to go back. Really think about that. Because the thing about it is that the Father still uses these wilderness periods for our preparation. And sometimes they can be tough, so tough to the point that it makes us say, hey, man, you know, if it's all it is, I might as well just turn back. Hey, Maureen.
I wanted to say pain, uncertainty, fear, some of the things that I can see about the wilderness that would make someone want to go back to the oppression. Pain, uncertainty, and fear.
Mm-hmm. All praises. Like they say, one of the most difficult things for a slave to do is be free. Like, that's one of the most difficult things to do, because while that condition is better, it's like you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes what's familiar and what you do know and what you're comfortable with is better than having to figure out something that's better for you. Sister Kim.
You just took the word out of my mouth. I was going to say familiarity is usually what makes people want to go back into go back. Familiarity, what they're used to doing. They're comfortable with being in sin. It's like they haven't gotten judgment right on the spot, and they depend on the Most High's mercy and grace, and and they take it for granted, and because nothing major has happened to them, so they just stay complacent in their situation and just think they have time to get it right. So I think that's why a lot of people go back and stay in their mess.
All praises. Go here. Did it go out?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's go here first. Then I'm gonna come to you. All right.
Okay. I was just gonna say the familiarity of everything causes people to then romanticize what was and view what they were comfortable in differently. So then when they're faced with something that is uncomfortable, i.e. the wilderness, it's like, well, at least I knew what this was. This is kind of the devil I knew, and so I could kind of stay and deal with this because I know what to expect, versus having to confront the change and become better to get what's next.
Mm-hmm. Praises.
Yeah, I was just going to land back off all of that. You see a lot of
evidence of this when, just like with our own people here in America, the sharecroppers, they didn't know anything else, so what they did, they went back to what the familiarity that they knew. It's like somebody who spent so much time in prison to when they get out, all they know is prison life, and they want to go back. Because freedom brings responsibility. Freedom brings challenges that you're just not ready for. And what they're not ready for. And so a lot of times when I look at Israel as being that prisoner, as being that sharecropper, or as being that the ones who just, they just can't make it on the outside, So this is why the Most High had to get rid of them, because they just were not ready for that change, and that's why He had to take them out. Everybody who was about 20 and up. Everybody had to go simply because of that fear and that unbelief and that doubt and that wilderness, that you're talking about. And I'm going to digress.
All praises. And then I saw Ryan.
Yeah. So this walk is a spiritual walk, and I believe this whole time they were in that wilderness, they were fleshly this whole time. What were they doing when they was asking for the meat? What did He do? He made it come out their nose. You want to be so fleshly, it's going to run out your nose. But this is a spiritual walk. And I think this is pretty much what He was putting them through, trying to get them to become more spiritual than fleshly, because that's pretty much all they knew coming out of Egypt. They worried about the food, and we had this when we were there, although they worked hard, very hard. We want to go back because we ain't got nothing to eat. We ain't got no water. You brought us out here to die. Fleshly mindset.
All praises.
So, and it's just a filtration system also. So you got to remember 400 years in Egypt, and then being forced and some even started following those ways. Like, just when you think about the Passover itself, what do you mean I got to put blood of the lamb on the door passage? That's kind of cultish. Would you really think this is going to work? And we had that mindset then, even after all the miracles of the Dead Sea, parting of the Red Sea, and still building the calf. And still taking all the jewelry that you just took out of Mitzrayim, and then to worship an idol. And so that's why only Caleb and Joshua, the foreigner, Caleb, and so we going through that filtration process.
All praises.
We also have to understand that, and to keep it in the right perspective, it wasn't just Israel that came out of Egypt. There was a lot of other people that came out along with us. And we have a tendency to gravitate to those, some things that's not us or about us. We're easily gravitate to those type of things. And this is why when they made the golden calf, the Most High told Moses, I just ought to kill all of them and start over with you, Moses. But this way it would only bend Israel at that particular time if he did that. But it wasn't for Moses reminding Yah the promises that He made to us, was kept us from all being destroyed. And this is why He said that most of these people will not make it into the kingdom, right? Because if you keep on reading, you come to find out that everybody that Moses, what was it done? All the men were circumcised. But when it came time to go into the kingdom, everyone that was circumcised by Moses wasn't there anymore. So He was thinning out the crowd. He was like purging out those rebels or those who, because we are people that like signs. We got to have a sign for everything, And so the faith that we had was wavering. I'll just put it that way, So He had to purge out all of those who pretended to be of Him and that's those of other nations that really never even knew him.
Praises. Saw your hand up. Okay, yeah. Come to. Oh, you got me, Michael. Told her.
Great lesson. Obviously, it's everybody is talking to, this is a great lesson. I just really want to point out, to add to what Elder was saying, as far as how our faith was low. And when we go back to the chatter that was going on, it takes me back to the uncertainty. And I want to hit on that because, sometimes it is the uncertainty in which we are wanting the familiarity of social norms again. Where when Moses was gone for a while, they came back saying, well, where's the man Moses? Where is the one who led us out? And so, because we don't know what's going on with him up on that mountain, let's make the golden calf. So here it is. Wasn't that even at this point they had a certain level of faith where they were struggling in the wilderness, but we still following. And that's how we are. We'll keep following. But then when some things don't work out and we have to struggle a little longer than we would desire, now it's like, what am I going to do? Where's Moses? Who's going to help me? I got to figure this out on my own, instead of just being patient and allowing the Most High to do what the Most High do. And so here it is. Moses is taking some time up there. And so because they think he's dead, then they want to create their own God. So again, that uncertainty, if we don't have the faith to sustain, then we will start falling back, and we need to be mindful of that today.
All praises. All praises. All praises. So being slaves in the land of Egypt means that although they were oppressed, Egypt was all they knew. Goes back to that uncertainty. They did not know what anything other than oppression, bitterness, grief, and heart. They did not know anything other than oppression, bitterness, grief, and a harsh labor. They only knew what it meant to be powerless in the face of their oppressors. So their oppression was instilled, or it instilled a level of fear in them that kept them from seeking freedom, even though it was something that they desired. So this was why they were crying out under their oppression. With this being said, they did not understand that the oppression only came because their oppressor feared them and what they could become if they understood the strength that they had in them. So this fear is one of the reasons that the Father took them through the wilderness. It was necessary that they, quote unquote, learn war, because war was the way that they would take the land in which the Father had promised to their fathers, right? So now, Exodus 13 and 17, and it came to be when Pharaoh had let the people go that Elohim did not lead them by the way of the Philistines. Now, we know the Philistines, they had all kinds of men of valor, if you will, right? They wasn't nothing to be played with on a carnal sense, right? And knowing this, the Most High said, I ain't gonna take them the way of the Philistines. It says, though that was nearer. So there's a shorter route. There's a faster route to get to this place, right? For Elohim said, being concerned for us and knowing what's best for us, he says, lest the people regret when they see fighting and return to Mizraim. So he already knew you got this in you, right? That fear, that uncertainty, like you taking as numerous and as mighty as we were, you taking a nation that's full of farmers, builders, stonemasons, and everything else, and then you expecting them to go and fight against trained warriors, right? Now, they saw and they knew, like, it ain't gonna be no easy fight. They gonna do some damage with them, with those trowels and shovels and pitch axes and whatever else, right? Like, man, they knew that's not a battle that we trying to see. But did we know that? Nah. Right? So, it says, so Elohim led the people around the way of the wilderness of the Sea of Reeds. And the children of Israel went up in fives from the land of Mizraim, right? So, And then there's a note there that's saying that this is a quote unquote marching formation, right? So I don't think I put that all in this lesson. I don't want to go too deep off into it, but when you look at the word for when they set up in camps, it's the same word. It's a military phrase. It's a military word. It's being used. It's the same thing that's used for armies or host, right? So he's setting these people up in this wilderness as his armies, if you will. But we don't understand that yet at this point, right? So with this being said, the wilderness was a period where many things that were instilled in the people from their condition of bondage and oppression had to be purged out. There were many things that had deep roots in them that would need to be uprooted out of them. Otherwise, these same quote-unquote bitter roots would grow in their new land that flowed with milk and honey, of vines and of fig trees and pomegranates, and eventually those same bitter roots would overtake the good land, right? Deuteronomy 29:1, he says, these are the words of the covenant which Yahuwah commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he had made with them in Horeb. And Moses called all Israel and said to them, you yourselves saw all that Yahuwah did before your eyes in the land of Mizraim, to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to all his land. Your eyes saw the great trials, the signs, and those great wonders. So they saw it, they lived it, they experienced it. But Yahuwah has not given you a heart to know and eyes to see and ears to hear till this day. But what does that mean? It was something about a revelation that they did not get, even though they went through it, right? They had all been through it. They knew the hardship. They remember the babies being thrown in the Nile. They remember putting the blood on the doorpost and not knowing, like not really knowing, like you this is a faith thing. Like you got some belief in something that you haven't seen happen before. And you're saying, okay, well, he said if we put this blood on this doorpost that we're going to be all right, right? Now, this is after you done seen all of these other supernatural plagues take place, and you looking like, man, what in the world? We got light over here, but they in darkness. Like, you've seen all of these things, all of these signs, all of these wonders. And even after having been through all of that, there was still a level of revelation that they did not have in that wilderness. And because of that, anytime hardship came, what did they do? Put them to the test. Why did you bring us out here to this wilderness? The only thing that he's trying to do is kill us. Let me ask this. How many of us have seen the Most High show up and you know it was so specific that you know, no. He was listening, he heard, and he acted. And then after that, a trial come, and then you running around like a chicken without his head. Don't know what to do, like all undone, right? And then we ask these questions like, is he going to? If he will. And it's like, no, we know he's hearing. So that just tells me that if we have to endure some things, that's because that's just what's in his plan for us to have to do, right? But I can guarantee you this is always for our betterment. Like he does no thing in vain. Ever. And then if you will, y'all can, if you will, just realign that. Toda. So verse 5, it says, and I have led you 40 years in this wilderness. Now, was it supposed to be 40 years? Like our Uncle T said, these periods are not supposed to last forever. It's supposed to be a temporary thing. And if you learn a lesson, when you're supposed to learn a lesson and you gain what you're supposed to gain in its season, we can move on and move to the next thing. But if you don't get the lesson, you just might find that you might start circling and wandering in this wilderness, right? And again, like they know and they're familiar with me saying this, that it's some things I can speak on from a lived experience, right? Like it's some things, like I'm not saying this at you, right? I'm saying this with you. Like, it's certain things about this process where it's like, man, I look back and I'm like, man, I could have got this back then. It was that easy. What was I doing? It's been there. The answer's been there the whole time. And now it's 10 years later and I'm just now getting it. But this is the process and the cycle when you let the wilderness get to you, and then you start, like I said, now because of the fear, the uncertainty, the discomfort, and you start to, now you invent new ways and new ways to cope within this wilderness. You invent new solutions, right? A golden calf was never a part of the Most High's plans and his solutions, but they invented it, right? And now because of this, we got to keep just roaming in this wilderness. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your garments have not worn out, and your sandals have not worn out on your feet. So now, this is the flip side of that, right? This is the Most High's mercy. Even in the midst of you stumbling and messing up in the wilderness, if he's giving you another day, it's still with the intent that you do what? That you change, right? Hopefully, just maybe you'll get it. Even if it's 40 years later, maybe you'll get it. This generation died in the wilderness because what? They never got the revelation. Their eyes never saw it. And we know this because, just like Elder brought out earlier, that whole generation that went into the land in the days of Joshua, that whole generation needed to be circumcised. Why is that? If we know that circumcision is a requirement for the Pesach, we know that there was something that they were not doing in the wilderness. It's some things that they just they dropped the ball on. They had to have. They knew the commandment of circumcision, and yet that whole generation that was circumcised, they didn't circumcise their children. They gave up. So now in the days of Joshua, he got to redo this whole thing all over again with this next generation. Things that should have already been being done. They never got it. They perished in the wilderness. And they never saw that rest. He says, you ate no bread and drank no wine nor strong drink, so that you might know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim. And when you came to this place, Sihon, the king of Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us to battle, and we struck them. And took their land and gave it as an inheritance to the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to the half-tribe of Manasseh. Therefore, you shall guard the words of this covenant and do them so that you prosper in all that you do. So why did he do all of this? Just so that we would keep the words of this covenant. And if we keep the words of this covenant, how will we be? Prospering in all that we do. It really is like an equation. It's as simple as that. Now, that's not to say that he's not saying all of this to them in the midst of the wilderness. You can't, I don't want it to be misunderstood. What I'm saying is that, oh, well, it's like a genie, and you rub on the lamp and out come good things. That's not what I'm saying, right? But what I am saying is that everything that he does it with your best interest at heart. Even though a lot of times it's beyond my understanding. I ask, as hard as I work, I ask like, man, why am I struggling as bad as I am? It's like I can't hold on to nothing. Why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? And I'm like, I talk to myself and I'm like, rolling on the bed, losing sleep over it. Like, man, I don't feel like I lack any motivation. I'm self-motivated. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, making my own schedule. Anybody got to tell me to do this. Ain't no job making me do this. I do this. It's like, okay, I got the motivation. I feel like I'm smart enough. I mean, like, I'm not lazy. What is it? And it's like, part of it is just, no, you got to understand that with all that you might have, it's still some pieces of the puzzle that you ain't got. So he's going to take you through this cycle so that you can get equipped, right? If the goal is that you get to wherever it is that he's trying to get you to, this land of promise, right? Because we can't call when the kingdom is going to come. Like, I can't call that, right? Might be in our lifetime. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. I might give up the spirit, give up my ruach before that time comes. But on this side of things, like, nah, it's plenty to be learned. It's plenty to be acquired and gained when we talking about walking with the Most High. So he says, all of you are standing today before Yahuwah your Elohim, your leaders, your tribes, your elders, and your officers, all of the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and your sojourner who is in your midst of your camp, from the one who cuts your wood to the one who draws your water, so that you should enter into covenant with Yahuwah your Elohim and into his oath, which Yahuwah your Elohim makes with you today, in order to establish you today as a people for himself, and he himself be your Elohim, as he has spoken to you, and as he has sworn to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. So what are we seeing from that? He's moving with a way because there's a weight to this covenant. I have to shape you up and prepare you to be able to walk in this thing. Because if I don't, instead of people seeing you and giving me esteem, they're going to see you and curse my name. Like, we do understand that Israel is a nation that was set up in a way that is different than any other nation. So much so, Deuteronomy 4 talks about how when the nations see us, that they would say, what other nation is there like this that has such righteous laws? They're saying that because they come and they get treated well. Oppression, the ways of oppression, every nation, every kingdom that I can look up right now on the face of this earth right now has some sort of level of oppression, some sort of level of unrighteousness in its foundation. It's just is what it is. Is what it is. We look at this place, for instance. This place was founded on unrighteously taking from the people who was here through their deceit. And then not only that, they said, we're going to bring others over here and then we're going to make them do all the work. With harsh bondage. And then they figure out new solutions, right? They said, well, the only way that this system really works is off of free labor. So how can we, if we're going to make them free now, we still got to figure out a way to get something for nothing. Like, they didn't fix the system, right? What did they do? They just said, okay, well, sharecropping system. Trick you into being a slave once again, right? Then they said, okay, well, they have kind of built themselves up to where they're not going to do that no more. Not without a fight. And we realized that the more we oppress them, the more they kind of want to stick together. So we can go over there to China and we can have them do it for basically free, right? Now they replacing that with what? AI and everything else. Go ahead, Moray.
You triggered a thought in me where you said that they want to get something for nothing, and which is very true. And this is kind of a side note, but I feel that we should be mindful of how they charged us for the tools for the sharecropping. So we got the land, but then they charged us ridiculous amounts of interest on the tools that we needed to do the land. Mm-hmm. So here it is, they're getting something for nothing. Mm-hmm. And so when we pray against this place, we want it to fall. The very thing that we want to fall is the money, because that is what they use to bring us into bondage. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing that we're crying for. Yahweh, I need 100,000, 200,000, I need $1 million, but it's the same thing that we wish would fall. Mm-hmm. So we need to be mindful of what we're praying for as we move throughout this place. We really just need our daily bread. I just need enough, but we want an abundance. Mm-hmm. And so we need to be mindful of that spirit, because dollar, that thing, which it has no value even today. It's not even money today, but it's the very thing that's got us working night in, night out, crying out to the Most High, and it's the very thing that we actually need to fail to gain true freedom.
You just said so much in that. You just said so much in that. Sounds like better prepare for the wilderness, right? Where the only thing you're going to be able to rely on is him. That's it. Steve.
Con, it doesn't mean stay home and play PlayStation either. So it's actually, like how you said, getting prepared for this wilderness, you know. And, you know, when we're seeing, the question before was, what could make someone not listen to the Most High after seeing all this stuff? Then you have to remember, you know, if you're going to go into Korah's rebellion, where his jealousy and pride had him and his followers swallowed up from the earth within Israel.
All praises. All praises. So notice the people saw great trials, signs, great wonders with their own eyes and ears, but they did not have any understanding for what they went through and why they went through it. All right, so they did not understand their years in the wilderness. So notice that the Father did not give them a quote-unquote heart to understand this. So this is something that you have to seek out, and you have to humble yourself to get the understanding for it. So these secret matters were to be sought out for a deep understanding of self and the Father's ways, right? So we know Proverbs 25, right? It's the esteem of Elohim to hide a matter, and the esteem of kings to search out a matter. Sometimes when we go through things, you got to actually take the time to search the matter out and try to gain understanding. Well, what is his purpose for this? What am I going through this for? And then what's the result of me going through this? What kind of fruit is the Father trying to bring out? Sometimes you got to ask yourself that. Sometimes you got to go back and you got to say, well, is this recompense? Is this just a consequence from a seed that I sowed? And now I got to deal with reaping what I sowed? Is this just, you got to ask yourself those questions. Psalm 105:5, he says, remember his wonders which he has done, his miracles, and the right rulings of his mouth, O seed of Abraham, his servant, children of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is Yahuwah Elohim. His right rulings are in all the earth. He has remembered his covenant forever. How long did he remember it? Like forever, ever, and ever, ever. Like he has forever remembered this. The word he commanded for 1,000 generations. The covenant he made with Abraham and his oath to Isaac, and established it to Jacob for a law to Israel, an everlasting covenant, saying, to you I give the land of Canaan, a portion of your inheritance. So now, I'm going to keep going. So once the people went through all of these things, it was supposed to strengthen them and cause them to boast in the name of Yahuwah. But notice, this revelation came by seeking. They never got the revelation, so the opposite occurred. I'm saying all this to say that when you go through these processes and through these periods in your life, you got to seek to gain understanding for why you're going through it, gain a revelation of why you're going through it, and then through that process, the goal is that you can bring forth some sort of testimony, some sort of praise through it. And then mind you, on top of that, none of us are in this for ourselves. Something that I got that you need, and it's something that you got that I need. And it's all meant to work that way. Like he wouldn't have it any other way. Lest, we'll all be puffed up, and then we'll be our own golden calf in the wilderness. That's just human nature. That's the way that it works. When they were few in number, few indeed, and sojourners in it, and they went about from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he allowed no one to oppress them, and he reproved kings for their sake, saying, do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no evil. And he called for a scarcity of food in the land. He cut off all supply of bread. This goes back to the point that I was just saying. We want to be delivered from here. Y'all don't think that he might send a famine and some hard times in this land? I used to ask the question, like, okay, I mean, we see them that are over there, and they free over there. Like, they doing all what they want to do in every manner of abomination under the sun. Like, it's like, man, how? I'm reading in this word, and I'm seeing that you're going to gather us up. We're going to get delivered back over there, and then at some point, it's going to be like it was in Micah chapter 4 and in Isaiah chapter 2, where the nations are going to be coming to us and saying, hey, let us go there and learn these laws. It's like I would ask the question, man, how is he going to do this? And I'm going to be honest, Father, I just don't see it. And it's like, yeah, it might just come through some shaking up of some things. You start putting judgment on these places, then just like it was with the 10 plagues. Like, hearts might get softened in, and then instead of them wanting to keep you in the land, they like taking off all their jewels and everything. Like, hey, no, take this and go. And matter of fact, some of us, can we go with y'all? Like, how we gonna get there? Unless it be through some hardships. So we gotta be willing, to your point, to, hey, see this place crash and burn. That's the only way out. Otherwise, you know, we can stay in this captivity and keep roaming around and over here. Right? So, verse 17, it said, he sent ahead of them a man, Joseph, sold as a slave. He afflicted his feet with shackles. His neck was put in irons until the time that his word came. The word of Yahuwah tried him. What's the process of Joseph's life? Is it not the same as Israel as a whole? Went into bondage, but they meant it for harm, but the Most High meant it for good. So we see how these cycles just keep repeating. They keep repeating. On and on, on and on. Ain't nothing really new under the sun. All we got to do is just look at these things as what they are, examples for our learning, and we'll see things we going through today ain't all that different from what they went through. It's the same process. It says, the king sent and released him. The ruler of the people let him loose. We understand that he was in that cell for a minute, questioning and wondering why. And then, mind you, there were things that he received and things that happened to him in that cell that it was a reaping, or he had to withdraw from things that was deposited years before he went off into that, right? So we understand, like, even with Pharaoh's dreams, he was calling back on things from his own personal life where he understood, like, oh no, I know exactly what this is and what this means. Most High told him when he was in the midst of his brothers what it was going to be. It took years for him to get there and to gain the understanding for it. But in the midst of it, he didn't understand what that was. He jumped out, y'all going to bow down and y'all going to serve me. Not really understanding. He said this as a youth, not really understanding. No, the Father is already showing you it's all laid out. You're going to have to go through some things, but it's for his purpose. Same with Israel. Ain't none of this been for naught. Like, the same thing that he saw in us and in our forefathers then is the same thing that he sees now. Same thing that he saw in our forefathers and our ancestors then is the same thing that our enemies and our oppressors see. We just got to see it. And until we realize it, just how strong and how numerous we are, we're going to continue to keep cycling through the wilderness. I heard somebody say the other day, they said, man, we as a people, we got everything but each other. We got everything that we need except each other. In this room right now, there are great brothers and great sisters, great men, great women, great children. In this room right now, it's some gifts in this room. Like, I don't know everybody, but I know I can guarantee you this. There's some gifts in this room right here and right now. It's like, oh no, Father put that on you. Only he did that. That's something that he put in you. Right here to do great things, but it's so many things that We hit the glass ceiling on because we don't realize just what it is that the Father's trying to do with us. And again, I'm saying that because some stuff is spoken from a lived experience. A lived experience. Verse 21. He made him master of his house and ruler over all his possessions, to bind his chiefs at his pleasure and to teach his elders wisdom. Then Israel came to Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. Sound like the same thing they were saying before, right? He turned their heart to hate his people, to conspire against his servants. He sent Moses, his servants, Aaron, whom he had chosen. They set among them the matters of the 10 Debarim, these are the Debars, if you will, of his signs and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they did not rebel against his word. He turned their waters into blood and killed their fish. Their land teemed with frogs in the rooms of their kings. He spoke, and swarms of flies came, gnats, and all their borders. He gave them hail for rain, a flame and fire in their land. And he struck their vines and their fig trees, and broke the trees of their borders. He spoke, and locusts came, and larvae innumerable. And they devoured all the plants in their land, and they devoured the fruit of their ground. Now, again, I'm going to ask this question. If put ourselves in their shoes. If you start seeing this, would you be running around scared, just as scared as the Egyptians? What's going on? Or are we in a position where we can perceive that, when the decline of things are coming, let me look for the salvation for the little sanctuary of the Most High. Let me find him and then let him direct my path in this. Because that's what we're going to need. And message, a lot of that is going to come through our ability to be able to lean on one another in that process. Then he struck all the firstborn in their land, the first fruit of all their strength, and brought them out with silver and gold. Among his tribes, no one faltered. Mizraim was glad when they left, for the fear of them had fallen upon them. He spread a cloud for a covering, and a fire to give them light in the night. They asked, and he brought quail and satisfied them with the bread of heaven. He opened the rock, and water gushed out. It ran into dry places, a river. And y'all realize that this same place, you can look this up on Google Maps right now, and you can see this place. Like, this place still exists. Rooftop still burnt up. It's still a rock that's split with the water erosion on it in the middle of the desert. It's still an altar with drawings of calf worship and all that on it too. All of this is here. So this really happened, y'all. And then we understand that at some point, that cycle going to repeat, right? So that tells me that we got to be what? We might want to have our eye on the Most High. Because this time might be closer than we might think. I don't know. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying I don't know. But what I can guarantee you is that you want to be on the side that was counted worthy to then do what? Be delivered and then go into what? The wilderness. So just getting out ain't enough. You got to come out of the world, come out of quote unquote Babylon, Mizraim, Egypt, right? And then you got to be prepared to be proven and tested even more. Sister Kim, go ahead.
I was just here chuckling because every time I get the mic, you already say what I'm about to say. But that last slide, I was sitting here. I wasn't going to say anything, but just since you said some of what I was going to say on this one, the last one, some of those things have already occurred or are occurring, have occurred. I mean, not from biblical history back then, but I mean like in our dispensation. Some of those things are happening already. So, but yet again, here we are, Israel being stubborn, being stiff-necked, being disobedient. You know, our biblical ancestors they're the example, that don't do this. Don't go through this. Look what happened to our ancestors back then. It's like the word says in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. So these things are occurring in our lifetime. There are blood waters and fish that are come up ashore dead, and that's been headlines for several years now. But so a lot of times our people, what we like to do is ignore the signs and act like they don't exist and that they're not happening. So yes, it's happening, and the Most High has shown us through His Word. He's already given us a heads up over 2,000 years ago. We've had ample enough time to figure this out. But like when the elder said, not everybody's going to be saved. Not all Israel's going to make it. But those of us who has an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying in the churches, we should do that.
All praises. Like Steve.
Con, and like even to build up on what the sister was saying there, like, okay, yeah, this is happening. Yeah, but in some cases, we have to dig a little bit further as far as the famine, right? It's fake food, genetically modified organisms. You're thinking it's meat and it's really not, right? Campbell's soup, the preservatives. I work with chemicals all my life, and I see chemicals that I have to train people with as far as this is carcinogen and a mutagen. It will affect and change your DNA after you're exposed so long to this. And yet we're eating this stuff. And then the red 40s, the yellow and all that, that's not even made in nature. That's not of Yah. So we have to kind of be careful what we're doing, the sugars, the fruit, everything. And what's the number one killer of our community? The high blood pressures, the colon cancers, the cancers itself. What feeds those things? High sugar diets. But there we go to Israel. You're still eating them cakes every week. It's a silent killer. So you got to clean your temple. You got to detox yourself. And so that's to put on what the sister was saying.
All praises. Like, it's for sure. It's a lot of things that, like, when we really start to think about this, being prepared for the kingdom of the Most High is so many levels to it. Like, I'm going to venture to say, man, if I got to eat the same thing every day, over and over again, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like, man, I might not make it past the first week. Like, I'm being honest. I'm saying to my own, like, you got to really change your mind and prepare yourself for what's ahead. Go ahead, Doc.
Just to let me back off of what you're saying, I agree 100%. One of the things that I like to say is, sometimes it's easier to just throw the whole old man away. It's easier said than done. To just throw the whole old man away and start over than to chip away at these things. Okay, I got rid of this. Now I got to work on this. Like, because then you're doing so many different things. And so this just really in theory, when I say that, it's better to just throw the whole old man away and start over. But I do want to encourage us in what you just said. If a lot of us have been raised very humble, where we was eating the same thing over and over, where sometimes we will be fasting the whole day, but you wasn't thinking you was fasting, you didn't think you was poor, none of that. It's just what you was doing. And so we've gotten older and we've come into a little money and we've made sure the fridge was stuffed up, you know what I mean? But if we go back to those times when it wasn't like that and we survived and we had joy still, and we have that mind, we have the ability to live this way, we got to be willing to do it.
Got to tap into it.
We got to tap into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we've been broke before. That's for sure.
Before. Yeah, that's what she laughing. Before. He said before. We talking about now. Look. But but yeah, for sure. Like, there is something to be said about that. Like, again, I'm saying all of this to say that when we start going through these trying times, like, how many of us, and I'm going to get to you, Sister Kim, I swear. how many of us a trying time bring out the worst of us, not the better, not the best. It bring out the worst. Like next thing you know, you agitated, you snapping on people, you all out of character, or maybe all in character. I don't know. Completely different person, right? This is what I'm talking about this wilderness process. Like, don't let it bring the worst out of you. Let it bring the best out of you, right? Like, and that just comes from having, okay, let me be cognizant of the times that I'm in and what the reason behind it is, and then now let me reframe these things and put this in proper perspective. What really is it that I need, and what is it that I don't need? Because one thing's for sure and another thing's for certain. If I can go without it, I ain't really need it, right? Like your needs, you go without them and you cease to exist. Like that's just the reality of it. Not to say that it ain't something that might be bring comfort to your life, but you can go without it. And if you do got to suffer and go without it, it's like all praises. Anyways, Sister Kim.
The flip side to what Ak just said about how we used to be without and didn't even recognize it, but yet we had joy. The flip side to that, I believe that was part of the setup for, I always say Babylon USA, but they're the ones I believe have put all this modern technology in place for us to be dependent upon it. So when it is taken away, it's like we forget where we came from. That we already, hey, we grew up like this. So if we're going to be without a cell phone, you know, there was a time we did not have cell phones, and we didn't even think not twice about it. The rotary was just a normal thing. Landlines, normal things. So, you know, I really believe that was part of the, you know, Satan's plan to get us our minds programmed to have that microwave mentality that, you know, everything got to be quick and fast in a hurry, drive through. So when it's taken from under us, it's like we gonna feel, no, well, those of us that have faith in the Most High, we know better. But it still would be a challenge nevertheless once that happens. So like I always say, it's time now to get your mindset ready and prepared to, you know, go without certain things. Maybe do your own trial run, you know, as a family, you know, let's see how we gonna go do this without, let's go not have a cell phone, let's not use the microwave. I got rid of my microwave a couple years ago. So, and I have my reasons, not gonna go into it, but I mean, I have an air fryer now, and it's more challenging because to try to just warm up something real quick, I was used to that, like I just said. But a couple years and now I don't even think about it. You know, sometimes I have to use the oven. That's how we used to warm up things, through the conventional oven. You know, you know, and actually the modern things that we have today is really dangerous for us. So it's all part of the setup. That's all.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So Psalm 105:42, it says, he remembered his set apart word to Abraham, his servant. So he brought out his people with joy, his chosen ones with singing. And he gave them to the lands of the nations, and they inherited the labor of peoples, in order that they might guard his laws and watch over his Torah. So that last verse, why is that important? Like, why is us guarding his laws and his Torah, and like why is that important? He's saying he done explained all of these verses. We have verse 45, and he been explaining all of this whole process and saying they went through this and they did this and they went through this and they went through this and they went through this. And it was all in order that they might do what? Guard these laws. Like, what's the significance of that? What is it about these laws? And why does he want us to keep them is the question. Like, what really is it about these laws and these statutes, these commandments? I'm going to take you through all of this just so that you'll keep these. These commandments got to be doing something for these people. They got to be.
So as you started out with asking us what are the attributes of a kingdom, and we understand these laws, and we went through mem and reflection and being molded into the image and the likeness. The laws help us to be kingdom citizens. They help us to live according to the ways of the king. And it helps us to do the things that please the king. And so we have those laws, and it is supposed to change us inwardly, not that we are just doing these things to walk in the flesh, in the likeness, but we should be doing both. We should walk in the likeness, but these laws should also change our inward man so that we can understand the Most High with our carnal minds, but then we can also be molded into the image of the Most High in our spirit also.
All praises. Like Steve.
So, and then, I mean, same thing as far as what the sister was saying. It's like, yeah, the technology, the microwaves, that's, I mean, once the wilderness sets in, can we even start a fire with wood? Can you, you got to think about it. I mean, they didn't have microwaves back then, you know what I mean? So, and some of them didn't want to follow it no more. Go back to the old ways of Egypt. And so we have to separate that today. Get out of her, my children. Okay? So you won't suffer in her sins.
All praises.
Just to line back on what my brother was saying, keeping these laws and guarding the Torah, these are things that's going to be established in his kingdom. So if you don't learn them now, chances are you ain't going to get in the kingdom. You're going to be left out. You're going to be left out because part of his kingdom is going to be established on laws and the Torah.
All praises.
I got an honest question, and I don't know who can answer it. Maybe somebody in the room has the answer. This next wilderness experience that talks about in Ezekiel 21. He talks about who you shall meet his people in the wilderness. Now, is that going to be like the wilderness snatching away that happened in Exodus, where it was just like a net of just mixed multitude and just everybody came out, or is the next wilderness experience going to be selection and like more specific, and individuals will have to qualify to make it to this next wilderness experience? 'Cause I know in Ezekiel it speaks of passing the individuals through the rod. So under the rod, which is like the sheep that will be tested. So I was just wondering, is it just like an automatic default? Oh, you are Israel, so you get to go to the test, or is it, you will, you're not at a certain place in your relationship, so you don't even get to the test to go under the rod?
All praises. If I could take a shot at it, what I would say is I think it'll be a combination of the two. Like, I think that there's an invitation that's going to be sent out, and I can't really call and say just how bad times will be that'll change the hearts and minds of our people to want to seek, to want to hear. I don't know that part. But what I will say is I think it'll be a combination of the two. I think that there are, just like it was when they went back in the days of Nehemiah and Ezra, there were some that went back to rebuild the temple. Not everybody went. Some stayed in Babylon. Like, some stayed behind and they stayed comfortable in Babylon and they never went back. But then for those that did make that decision to go out, it was rebels that got purged out in the quote unquote wilderness. On that journey from Babylon back into the land, we saw the priests, we saw all of, and these are the ones that did say, yeah, we're gonna go back. That's a good idea. And not all of them was able to re-enter back in. So I think it'll be a combination of both if I'm taking my honest shot at it.
To the Og's question, it's like, yeah, it's going to be more selective. You're going to have to accept Mashiach and keep the commandments. So you can't be Torah only. I'm sorry.
Just to land back on what you guys were saying, when we first left out of Egypt, it was a mixed multitude of us, right? And when we went through it through the 40 years, and when we came out of there was still some mixed with us. Those who decided that they were going to follow Yah and keep his word and his commandments. So for a lot of people that be thinking, well, we're the only ones going to get in, that's not quite true. Because, you know, it's because if you keep reading, when Joshua took over, there were some that were still from the mixed multitudes that came, strangers that came out with us from Egypt, and they also came out after the 40 years.
Yeah, all praises. Like, what I say to that is, one part of that is just really understanding the character of the Most High. Like, Abraham testified to it. Like, it's not like you to destroy the righteous with the wicked all the same. So, like, to some degree, like, his standard is always just going to be righteousness or unrighteous. Like, I got preference over here because y'all should know, and I've been calling y'all. But, you know, like, his standard is always going to be righteousness at the end of the day.
Aki, I was just going to suggest to read Zechariah 13 at your leisure. But he already tells us there that he's only going to, a third of is going to go with him to Zion. A third of Israel is going to go to Zion. 2/3 is going to perish. So yes, there's only, you know, there's always a remnant. He always has a remnant. You know, in former dispensations in biblical history, you know, Noah was a remnant. Lot in his situation, that was a remnant. So there's always a remnant, no matter what dispensation we're in, that is living this thing like he requires of us. So that's the perks of actually being in obedience, because obedience is key. Total obedience to his word is key. So that he has perks for those who do that. So I don't know, a lot of people think they can get something for nothing from the Most High. He's not that. You know, they take him as a joke, but, you know, you have to walk this thing, dot every I, cross every T, literally, because his word says it. Not that literally, but those words verbatim, but there's scriptures that you have to walk this thing. And then he also talks about the parable of the wheat and the tares. He said, let the wheat, you know, the tares grow with the wheat, because in the end, he's going to do the separating. So, yes, it's always going to be a divider there. You know, you're either going to be just like good and evil, bad and good. You got to, he said, choose ye this day who you will serve.
Yeah, all praises. Like, it's definitely an interesting question to ponder, too, because it's like, you look at the one part in Ezekiel where he says, like, yeah, and I'm going to purge the rebels out of your midst. Like, so, yeah, you know, like, it's an interesting thing. Like, again, I can't say I got all of the details of it. Like, I'd be a liar to say that I know every step of the way that it's going to go. But it is something, it's something to consider and think about.
It brings to mind the parable of the wedding feast, where Israel's going to be called. Of course, we are the ones who were called to the feast, to the wedding. But then we were the ones that was like, well, you know what, I got to work. I got to tend to my flock. I got to do this. Everything was more important than being at the wedding feast. And so, okay, well, then go outside of the camp and find those who are willing to come and fill this place up. And so prayerfully, we will all answer the call and show up to the wedding. And those who are outside of our nation, they have the opportunity to be there also. But don't be deceived. Righteousness will be judged. We ain't getting in there with a dirty garment on. If you don't have your righteousness in order, whether you are a Jew or a Gentile, you went out of darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Straight up. Let's go to let's hit Zakane, Kadosh, and then we'll go to Elderwood.
Yeah, that just puts me in the mind of Ezekiel 9, where it talks about the inkwell, where 2/3 of the people were marked for death then from that 2/3, then you still had that 1/3 that still had to go through the trials, and that herd was even thinned out. And then, as Maury just said, as well as the wedding feast, we're gonna get called, but if you're not in there with the right clothes on, you're gonna get kicked out, and you don't want to be kicked out from the wedding feast because it's nothing good for you. So, there's a lot of different scriptures that we can use to go back and to apply to this, but we have to take everything into context.
We're gonna go to Elder, and then we're gonna move.
Just to land back on all that, we have to understand that when the Most High went to Satan and asked him, what are you doing? He said, try my servant Job. Job was not an Israelite. Job was not a Hebrew.
So even on top of that, as far as what do we do in that situation in Babylon and Persia? How do we act like Daniel? Like Esther and Mordecai that warned the king of Persia of a plot about him as being righteous as well while we're in his other kingdoms.
All praises. That goes back to that Deuteronomy 30 point. Like, at the end of the day, it's a level of righteousness that we're going to have to maintain even in a level of captivity, like in the land of captivity, for sure. So yeah, all praises. This is an ongoing pattern. This wilderness is an ongoing pattern that the Father uses to refine his people and purge out of them the things that are not like him. So this is also used as a way for him to be praised and esteemed, but these things can only take place when we have a circumcised heart and have been humble before the Father's face. So the wilderness is designed as a path to freedom for those that have an eye to see it. So it is the place where we can gain deeper insights on who we are and who the Father is. So it's only when we are not refined in the wilderness journey that things become a problem. So the wilderness is the Father's way of answering our cry for help from bondage, affliction, oppression, and the like. So keep this in mind, because though we all want the freedom, the flesh does not want to choose the wilderness route to it, right? So just keep that in mind, that you're going to have to deal with that, because it's like all the alarms are going to be going off telling you don't step not one damn foot out there into that desert. When you go out there, you're going to be by yourself. Now, that's not the truth, but that's the way you feel, right? Go ahead, Elder.
And for those who might not understand that, if you get a chance to get out in the wilderness, you being part of grace. He's giving you grace in order for you to find time, in order for you to get it right. So a lot of people think that grace started in the New Testament. No, it started long before the New Testament.
All praises. Like that's who he is. Like Exodus 34, there were so many ways that he could have described his character. Moses said, "Hey, I want to see your face." It passed by and it said, he's long-suffering, merciful, full of compassion. Like, these are the things that he chose. That he could have said, "I'm full of wrath. Don't play with me." He could have said a bunch of stuff, and they all would have been just as true. But this is the way that he decided to express himself and reveal himself to his people, is leading with those things. So absolutely. I'm going to end it with this. Deuteronomy, Devarim 8:1. He says, "Guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live and shall increase, and go in and shall possess the land of which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that Yahuwah your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you." So why did he do it? To humble you, to prove you. What does it mean to prove you? Right? It's a testing, right? I need to, let me test this metal and make sure that it can handle this stress test, right? And to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commands or not. So that's what this whole wilderness experience is about. right? Is to show you you as he sees you. I want to know what is in your heart. When I do this and when you have to see this, are you going to hold on to me? Keep seeking me? You going to keep my commandments, or are you going to wild out? You going to turn away? Start making up your own understandings, right? Because it's a subtle thing. It doesn't usually just, especially when you've been in a walk for a minute, and like some of us, and I know some of us in this room have been in it longer than we ever was not in it. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'll give an example. I worked at a place with, it was all kinds of cultures of people that worked in there. It's a Chinese ran facility, but there was a Jewish employee that worked in there. Now, he grew up as orthodox as they come. Black suits, the curls, all of that, right? And we had a little thing because we ate similarly, right? So like when they would have pizza at the job and all of this stuff, like I'm sitting there not eating the pizza because it's, hog all over it. So he and I both would be like, And so, make a long story short, I asked him one day, like, man, like, so, like, tell me exactly what it is that you believe. And he looked at me and said, you know what, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. And that rose all kind of red flags for me. Like, I'm like, you eating kosher as you know kosher. All of these things, like, so why are you still doing it if you don't believe it? And he's like, it's all I know. So I say that to say that, like, turning away from it is not always so on the surface of, I'm about to just wow all the way out. Now I'm eating for some that is the case. But it's not always that. Like, you can still be walking physically in a command, but your heart be far from him. Just as in the case with that, with him. Like, he still felt some level of conviction and all of this when it came to eating unclean things. And believe it or not working on the Shabbat. But then I would ask him, like, so he's like, no, I don't know what I believe. Like, maybe he's real, maybe he's not. I'm like, what sense does that make? But that's a real thing. And for some of us, even in the walk, that's a real thing. It's a real thing. Going through the motions, but not really. Again, like he said, I showed you all the signs, all of the wonders, and y'all still didn't have eyes to see it and ears to hear it. So I say all of that, like I said, to say that the process of this wilderness is meant to show us as he sees us. And if he sees something that's in us that's not quite right, we better hope that he takes us through that wilderness process and through that discomfort and we better hope that it's, to Uncle T's point, just a temporary thing. We can gain some insight on it in that moment, and then, we learn and we say, hey, just like with David, right? Like, he had his wilderness periods throughout his life. But if we pay any attention to David, it only brought him closer to the Most High. Like, every single situation was a test and a trial that brought him closer to it, but it was also realize how much it was weighing on the line, because at one misstep in that process, and he's way off. Like, y'all realize that situation with Nabal, if he kills Nabal like he wants to kill Nabal, the next time he sees Saul, what is he going to do? Saul's a dead man. So he's it's that much weighing on it. Like, when you're going through these tests, these trials, and that was an insignificant thing to, at that moment, what he thought anyways, that was an insignificant thing to what he was really going through, right? Like, this is just Nabal is like what they call him, an NPC, a non-playable character in the story. Like, he's a side quest. Like, you're not paying, like, seriously, like, but you don't realize that, no, he's a really big deal in this story, because if he turns away from the Most High, he kills this man in this, next time that he sees Saul, he's going to kill Saul, because that's mentally where he is, just from the situation. Like, the situation is bringing this out of him. Like, okay, I spared these people, in Kayla. And then I tell them, like, hey, y'all be safe, but don't let nobody know where I'm at. Then soon as Saul comes, where is he at? And out of their fear, they like, hey, he went that way. You'll run into him. Then he sees him, and then he lets him go. And it's like, all of these things, and then he's asking the Most High as he's going, should I go? Should I stay? And you get those one-word answers. And sometimes we get those, right? It's like, yes, no. Can I get a little bit more detail? No. Yes, same answer. So you got to go through it and operate in obedience to it, to what you're hearing. And then when you get in the midst of the situation, here we are in the wilderness. It's like, what have I got myself into? He said yes to do this. Now I'm doing it. And it seemed like it's just chaos that's coming out of this situation. And it's like, well, he says, who won't be moved from my set apart hill? He that swears an oath to his own hurt. Like, that's Psalm 15. Like, you realize that sometimes he'll put you through situations just to see, are you going to keep my Torah or not? Even if on the front end it seems like a loss. On the back end, you receive the blessing and the benefit. Oh, go ahead, Akoti.
For me, getting out of this lesson, it's just the example, like I said before, that the biblical ancestor Israel showed us in the Word. That, we can't think we're going to go get that invitation holding on to our old ways. Just like in verse 3 up here on the screen, it said he humbled you. It's like, are you willing to be humble? Are you willing to swallow your pride? I mean, because that's basically the basis. I always say the foundation of every sin is pride. And it's like, do you want to hold on? Is it that important to hold on to that thing, hold on to that anger, hold on to that pride and whatever else you feel that's going to make you feel better about yourself? It's like, do you feel that's that worth it? Because our soul is priceless. So you putting more value on anger than your soul, the priceless soul, or whatever your weakness is. Because we all have some, but we have to be willing to die, like Apostle Paul said. He died daily. We have to daily make a decision, a conscious decision, to die to our flesh. As painful as that can be sometimes, but it's just like, the refining fire. He's taking us through that wilderness, which is our fire, to purge us, to purify us. So that, to make us to be able to see, when he see us, he see himself. So that means see, like, transparent through us, So we can't think that it's just like, read the scriptures. What happened to, the Most High, Israel upset the Most High. He was angry at them. Why do we want the Most High to be angry at us? Keep staying in our stubborn ways. I mean, it's like, we're not going to get a pass. I think that today's Israel think they're going to get some kind of pass. It's not. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. His word changes for no one. So if you plan to make it to Zion in the kingdom, you got to die.
Morey, this lesson blessed me so much. I want to say, intimately, personally, we go into our wilderness periods. I believe we go in strong, like you said, praising and having a good time. And sometimes you can know, like, okay, it's about to be bad, but we good. We good. Like, we got this, right? And then it becomes the length of time where before you push through and you have that testimony, and it's like, okay, I remember when Yahweh brought me through. We good. A week, 2 weeks. Don't worry, we good. We get to 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Now it's getting tough. Now I'm cracking. Okay, so I just want to bring out some things that you said through this lesson that spoke to my spirit. The citizenship comes before access to the kingdom is granted. That spoke to me. The wilderness is used to cleanse us, detox from our bodies the ways of worldly kingdoms to reflect Yahweh. And these are just things that I will use to remind me as I'm going through my, remember this, remember this, remember this. This wilderness will teach us war to prepare us to receive the kingdom. You said that, Moray. Great word. Don't let this wilderness process bring the worst out of you. Reflect and allow it to bring the best out of you. I got to remember that. This wilderness process is to show you you. So let us not get so down when we are going through these things. These are some of the points you made that's going to help me to remember to stay locked in. Keep going. Walk another mile. Just keep stepping, one step at a time, because it is tough for everybody. And we all, like Akoti said, we have our different things that we deal with. But we got to remember that this is a process that Yahweh is using to answer our prayers. So hallelujah for the word you brought today, Moray.
Just to that, the wilderness is literally an endurance period. Just to what he was saying, and the question we have to ask ourselves is, will we endure unto the end, no matter what we encounter through the wilderness? Israel, they suffered hunger, thirst. Yahuwah supplied their needs, right? But what prevented them from entering into the land? Endurance. They lacked endurance. They forgot what Yahuwah did for them. What did Yahuwah say? I took you up on eagle's wings. Don't remember what I did for you. Of course, they were fearful and doubtful. The lack of love, the lack of trust. Israel, that generation, they saw what Yahuwah did. So when it came to the point for them to be able to enter into the land of honey, you would think they would have the encouragement to go in. Man, Yahuwah, we got this. But they kept forgetting. Man, you took us all back here so we can die. Like, why are we going through this process? So the reasons why feast days for Pesach, what is it? Remembering what he did to take him out of Mishraim. Sukkot, what is it? Dwell for 7 days. Sukkot, you're remembering what Yahuwah did. The purpose is so that you will not forget, so you can endure. Okay, no, I can do this. I got this because I know Yahuwah, he will deliver. Ayo endured. Joseph endured, like you mentioned, David. They saw what was at the end of it, what was promised to them. But the generation in wilderness, they didn't see it because they did not endure. So I just think that we really have to ask ourselves, like, do we forget what Yahuwah does for us? And we have to remember what he does for us so we can endure, because that's the key. Endure until the end, then you will be saved. But you have to endure this whole process. If you give up or if you forget what Yahuwah did, there's a possibility that you won't make it. You won't endure. So I just think that too would be added to just the wilderness period.
Absolutely. And then as a side note, just keep in mind that everything that they suffered in the wilderness, like, was it reasonable? Like, you in the middle of the desert, it was a reasonable thing to be hungry. Right? You in the middle of the desert and then went a couple days without water. It was reasonable to be thirsty, but it was how they dealt with it that was the problem, right? It wasn't the Most High knew what they needed, and he had every intention and every plan on providing and doing just what he did, taking care of what they needed. But the issue comes in, and the endurance part of it is when now it's just like what he said with Job. Like, no, take this from him. I guarantee you he'll curse you to your face. Now that love that we supposed to be having for the Most High, now that's gone. And, whatever else done took its place.
So appreciate it, Lanya, who a great study as well. And something that stuck with me from the brother from Israel, this, Elia, my bad. So he said, like, we actually want the system to fail. We're talking about that money. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to the Most High what belongs. That stuck with me as far as this wilderness that we're asking for that testing. And then it goes, from the physical, like the sister was talking about, microwave food, whatever, or getting ready to go in the wilderness physically, but mentally as well. Okay, we already know the easy stuff when we're writing it down, what doctrines we knew from Christianity. Okay, now let's break it down. Why? Like, what's the next level? What's that next filter as far as your understanding of the word? Okay, what doctrines are Hebrew doctrines that are Talmudic in origin or Kabbalistic in origin, so we can further get more understanding and get closer to the Most High.
Praises.
So I was, you could tell he was taking notes and, saying, I got to remember this, to apply to his life. Sis said, remember. I read the Ten Commandments earlier. Remember the Shabbat. We know what it's pointing to the kingdom. Right. You in the wilderness, I'm going to give you these fringes for you to touch and remember. I'm going to give you my son so he can walk it, so you can see how he walking, remember. Thank the Most High for these testimonies, for your remembrance. You know what? Because my son is gone now. Let me send the Holy Spirit for your remembrance. It ain't about, I'm gonna place this word in your heart and in your mind for your remembrance. So this becomes a natural thing. You don't even have to think about it. You do it. It's engraved in you for your remembrance. So I just want to thank the Most High for his testimonies. And this is what it's for, because it might be a time where we don't have it. So prayerfully, it's right here and engraved in your heart and in your mind so that you remember.
I was going to point out, I think a sis already had said it in, oh God, I lost it. In Deuteronomy, it was in verse 2. All these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you, to prove you, to know what it is in your heart. I think Father was trying to see what type of level of submission would come from his people. Would they submit to me? Would they, allow me to lead them versus bucking against what he was trying to purge out? And that level of submission is so key because it allows you to hear him. It allows that anxiety and fear and worry to calm down for a moment. I know we're about to enter into winter season. The whole season is about submission. And I mean, I can only talk about myself, but I know I have to work on that because I know there's something he's trying to work out in me internally first before we go into a whole nother set of feast days. So submit to him. Stop pulling away from his hand. Stop, I can only talk about my babies. Stop pulling away from me. I'm trying to take you over I'm trying to take you somewhere. You keep fighting against what I'm trying to do. As a child of the Most High, stop pulling and fighting and kicking and doing a temper tantrum. He's trying to give you what you're screaming for. Just lay there and let me do what I need to do with you on the inside. There's nothing about the outside. He was trying to show them internally. Internally, inside out first. So I thank you for this again. The wilderness was not supposed to be long term. It was not supposed to be 40 years. We were not supposed to be dying and testing. Oh my God, Father, help me. We were not supposed to be dying in our test. My God, sorry, I don't know what's going on. We were not supposed to die in our test. We were supposed to live. We were supposed to come into life. He gave us manna, Yeshua, in the test to say, come on, and they still fought. So I pray that, thank you for the remembrance, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, I'm halfway through my life. The average life don't even reach 80 years old. A lot of us in here already halfway there. So I pray that we can see what our ancestors did and did not do. and that we can do better. We have opportunity to do better. These babies can see that we all up in here trying to do better. We trying to do better for y'all, for you. You know, like they did, like their kids was watching them do the same thing. I think your brother pointed out, why weren't they circumcised? We know better. So I just thank you for the remembrance.
Praises. I just wanted to add the expectation part. Like, what are we expecting during this period too? Because you see Israel, I feel like sometimes they expected something than what they got. You know what I mean? So just when we are in the wilderness, don't complain, don't murmur what it is that you receive. You know, you've cried out, you've been delivered, Abihu has answered your prayer. Now you're entering in the wilderness and you're like, man, what? This is not what I expected at all. You know, like sometimes you can get those mindsets. So it's like, then we complain, then we murmur, which is evil in the sight of Abihu. So it's like expectation. Just receive what Abihu has given, accept it, operate it in it, say, okay, whatever it is, Father, it's hard, it's tough, but I trust you, I love you, my hope is in you. I'm gonna be okay. And then don't complain, don't murmur, because we see Abihu was not pleased with that. He's not pleased with that. So I just wanted to add that in.
Like, you said a word, you said trust. And that's the word there. Like, we gotta be able to trust in the Most High. And that's the part that's difficult, right? It's trusting Him. Don't lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him in all your path, like in all your ways, and He'll direct your path. It's that unknown, it's that uncertainty that causes us to forsake the trust. And then now we start like you know, coming up with all these different solutions. And notice that our solution is always based on our what? Our expectation, right? We try to figure out a way to make the Most High's plan fit within our expectation. Yeah. And then that's where we go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we even saw the best of them, that get to the best of them, Abraham, right? Like, when you really think about how long this man was waiting from when he first was told, this is what I'm going to do with you, to when it actually came to pass, decades done passed. This man is waiting for decades. Decades. Still waiting for this thing. And then it's not like the window is opening up more and more, and it's becoming more possible on a carnal level. As time goes by, this is getting less and less likely. Right? From a physical standpoint, right? And it's like, no, we got to learn how to trust. But what ends up happening is, like you said, those expectations, it causes us to do all sorts of things in that process instead of waiting. They came up with a solution based on that expectation, right? Well, we know that this is what he said, so how is this going to happen? And while they were well-intended, right? Must be this. And now you got a mess, right? So, yeah, that's key.
I have a testimony that I would like to share. So last year, and this is regarding me as a man seeking purpose, wanting to feel like I'm accomplishing something with this life. Akoti mentioned half of our life we only live to around 80 years old. So I'm considering, okay, what am I going to do with the second part of my life? I'm literally having these thoughts. And so I'm reflecting on the things that I've done really well, and then how can I use those things to propel me forward. And so what I notice in my reflection is that when I coach basketball, that I am able to impact people in a way that I can't outside of the sport, where I can teach principles of Yahweh, and those principles have led to success in how I coach. And so, politics has got me away from that. And so I've come to this place where I told my wife last year, I said, okay, I'm ready to get back into coaching. And so the past summer, I'm applying at every head. For one, it's never been as many head coaching jobs as been available in Cincinnati at one time, which was crazy. And so I'm applying for all of them, and I got a good resume. and no one is giving me a chance. And now I'm salty. Like, I can't believe this. Like, the times I did coach as varsity high school, I'm like, we having success. And so I'm considering, okay, I'm going to just give up. I'm done with this. I guess the Most High don't want me to use this, although I feel like it's something that's in me that helps me bring the best out of young people when I coach. So the moment I gave up and just stopped trying, a coach that I didn't even apply to, I didn't even apply there, texted me and said, hey, are you ready to coach again? And then I'm like, absolutely. I saved the message just for the testimony. I'll do that so people can see. I saved those things. Mm-hmm. And then so he brings me on as an assistant varsity coach. Now that I'm in there, I realize I did not want a head coaching position at all. I didn't want that. But the Almighty knew what was best for me. And so I did everything that I could, and then I was done. Mm-hmm. But the Almighty came through, and that's on the carnal. That's in the physical stance. But in us trying to feel some gratification in, and I'm talking about us men, in wanting to feel like we're living purposeful lives, because at some point we give up trying to make the most money. We see, oh, this is a system. We don't even want no parts of it. But I do want to live a life full of purpose. And so we struggle with that. That's something that I was battling. And so the Almighty saw me, heard me, and gave me exactly what I needed. And that's my testimony.
Oh, praise it. And I don't want that to go over people's heads. Like, this is the reason why in the beginning I asked, what is a kingdom? So I was going to go into a whole different direction with this lesson. And originally it was going to start with asking 3 questions. So what is a kingdom? What all goes into building a kingdom? Then the next level of it is, so then we understand that, what is a religion? And what is trying to build a religion? And then from that, we got even worse. What is a cult? And building that. And that's what we get accused of a lot, right? We get accused that they throw that word around for us. But the thing about it is really understanding, like, no, what is it that the Father is trying to build? And if he's trying to build a kingdom, the way that he might choose to use us is not always going to be within the confines of these 4 walls, right? It's not always going to be in this space. Like, it's transferable skills to actually making an impact and a difference on someone's soul. Like, and that's what you're doing with this. And that's the thing, like, that's where the purpose comes from. Like, it's not always going to be a cookie cutter thing within the quote unquote. Now, if we're just talking about a religion, then, you're going to get what comes along with that. But if we're talking about kingdom building, that's beyond just these 4 walls. Like, that was literally the purpose of his Torah. Is, okay, we know one of the main principles of Torah is, okay, if I'm going to bless you and I'm going to give you what you need, take what's left over. Last time we went there with y'all, we got that lesson, and my Isha knows that I've been saying it. This is from Moreh Hoshea. Like, what is your plan for the abundance? Like, the overflow. What is your plan for that? Right? And a lot of times, like, what we've been saying is like, no, sometimes it might not come because you're not ready for it. Like, he's not going to fill your barn if you can't be responsible with that part first. Like, so you need to be responsible with that and have an actual plan that is in alignment with his will for the overflow of what you receive. This is Torah 101. I'm going to bless your fields. If you are being obedient to me, I'm going to bless your field. But then it's up to you to know. Lead those 4 corners of your field for all of those that are outside of Israel and all of those that are outside of the ideal situation, even within Israel, to be able to come and benefit and eat from that still so that nobody has to go hungry. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the goal, and these are principles of Torah that goes beyond just religion, right? Like, religion has us stuck within, okay, well, I got to, make sure that I got these fringes on, I'm dressed this way, and all those things are all good. It's all fine, all dandy. You're not going to have me saying anything against those things. But what is important is that we understand actually moving and operating within the character and the will of the Most High. That's what makes that testimony beautiful, because a lot of times, like I said, I don't want it to go over people's heads. A lot of times, we don't understand that the Father uses us in so many myriads of ways, and that his purpose might very well be, there might be a child or a kid out there that he might be fatherless. Now you've stepped in that position as that father figure to lead him to who? The Most High, right? This is how he works and how he uses it. So Toda for that. Like, all praises for that testimony. Like, all praises for that. Sister Kim.
His testimony also reminded me of my situation and part of answering the question, what is a kingdom? And I always consider myself, being in the health field, that I'm on assignment because I work through the agency. And so I go to facility. And so the Most High uses me more times than not in that. And I consider my jobs, and I'm on assignment. That's how I feel. I'm on assignment. And so I've lived long enough now to know my purpose in this life, and it's all of our purpose, actually, to, be in his will and to win others, to the kingdom. So that's how I look at my job. Because we're supposed to work our jobs, we're supposed to reflect Christ, but at the same time, we're supposed to work it not grudging, like you just want to work as if you're working unto the Most High, and so when things don't go right on your job and there's a lot of politics going on, you're just supposed to count it all joy, because it's a lot of, like I like to say, it's just establishing character in us, and to see how we're going to respond to things and see if we're going to reflect Christ. And a lot of our tests are from our places of employment, a lot of times, and in our families. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, all praises. Yeah. With that being said, I'm Tomio. If y'all Tomio, yeah. I'm not gonna beat the dead horse. I'm Tomio. Moriah, should you have any closing remarks, closing words? All praises.
Shalom, fam. Shabbat shalom. I see it's dark, so the Sabbath is over. Good to see everybody. Good to see a bunch of family in the house. It's great to see everybody just looking around, seeing a bunch of people that, been knowing for many, many years. So I'm not going to be long at all. We went through a lot of things. I think it's very important to focus on what we talked about today, the wilderness experience. We all have our own different wilderness experiences. I'll touch on maybe one or two things. One thing, while I was walking out a little earlier, I walked downstairs, and I think Morey Hosea had mentioned something, and I didn't get to hear the answer, but something about, what was it? As everybody, I'm putting my own words, is everybody or all of Israel going to go through this next wilderness experience, or just a certain select few, I want to briefly touch on that and get y'all feedback. I want to read this verse. It's from the book of Sirach, chapter 7, verse 36 first. And this is something that I sum up. Sirach 7 and 36. It says this: whatsoever thou takest in hand, remember the end, and thou shalt never do amiss. What does that mean, to do amiss? It's like saying go astray. Whatever you take in hand, meaning whatever task, whatever thing you take on, remember the end, or think about the end. Think about the end results of this. Think about what's going to be the outcome of this decision that I'm making. And it says, when you remember the end, thou shalt never do amiss or go astray. So to sum that up, whatever you take on, think about the results of this. Think about the end results. I think too many times we don't do that. I think even in this lesson, I thought about that in terms of the lesson that the Maury presented today, because I don't think our forefathers in times past thought about the end. I think when Moses went up on a mountain to get the commandments, they didn't think about the end. That, wait a minute, we're down here making the golden calves. What's the end going to be? Whether Moses come back down or not. Yeah, they may have thought he was dead. Okay, whether he comes back down from the mountain or not, they knew that they wasn't supposed to be doing the things that they were doing, right? If Moses come back, he going to correct them. If Moses died in the mountain, the Most High still going to correct him, no matter what way or the other. I do want to touch on one more thing, and that's going to be the book of Zechariah, because I mentioned a little earlier who's going to go through, and this is something that I usually will refer to kind of delve into that. Like I said, I don't know if y'all brought out what was really said, because I walked out during that time, but I do want to chime in on just this part. Zechariah chapter 13, I'm going to read 2 verses. Verses 8 and 9. It says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." So it's talking about in the time to come, 2 parts will be cut off and die, but a third will be left. Verse 9 says, "And I will bring the third through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Elohim." So when I look at that to say, I believe the 1/3 will be the people that will be tried. The 2/3 will be the people that will be cut off and die. Right? So we want to make it to be the people that's tried, to be the 1/3. In order to make it, we have to be walking in an upright manner. In an upright manner, keeping the commandments, keeping the statutes, keeping the things that the Almighty commanded us, keeping the things that the Messiah commanded us, right? Because even the Messiah's words are like Torah commandments, right? So keeping these things, the testimony of the Messiah and the commandments of the Most High. And again, I think that each and every one of us, as I sum this up, we need to think about each and every day our own wilderness experience and how are we going to make it through our own daily individual wilderness experience. And I think that's the test for us today, right? Daily wilderness experience. We go through many trials, tribulations. People have death in the family. Our sister Moriah mentioned that earlier about her son dying. That's a whole wilderness experience. We don't think that we're going to bury our young ones. You know, you never think that as they're growing up, you know? But we never know what's going to happen next. So these are trials and tribulations that we have to get through. We have to be there for each other on these things. We have to be there to support, show love one towards another, and to help each other get through whatever trials and tribulations that may come. But with that being said, that's literally all that I have. I wanted to briefly say that and sum up. Moriah, you have something? It looked like you was about to reach it. Oh, 7 and 36. Yep, 7 and 36. And then my sister right here has her hand up. If someone was bringing the mic, if we could please bring it to her.
Toda for the confirmation, because that was answered earlier. I said Zechariah had gave him, led him to read the chapter of Zechariah 13. So, absolutely, Toda.
Hallelujah. Anyone else? All right. Maury Bryan, what's next? Are we What are we doing next? Oh. Okay. Sounds good. Everybody can rise. Stretch your legs up. I think we was facing this way earlier. This is towards Jerusalem, right? Let's face our homeland, the great city of Jerusalem. As we begin to pray to the Almighty, we're going to pray us out. And y'all remember, for those that may not know, it's Final Sabbath, so y'all stick around. I know they have plenty of festivities for us to really fellowship, get to know each other, have a great time. All right, if we can stretch towards our hands, towards the Almighty, towards the heavens. Almighty Yahweh Elohim, again, we give you thanks and praise on this day. We ask, Yahweh, that you forgive us from all of our sins, transgressions, and iniquities. Forgive us, Yahweh, for the sins of our forefathers, creating us a clean and a pure heart, that we may seek you with all of our heart, all of our mind, and all of our souls. Yahweh, creating us a will and to give us the spirit to want to serve you, Yahweh, diligently. Let us not turn to the right hand nor to the left, but we may walk on a straight and narrow path. As your word says, narrow is the way that leadeth to life, but broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. Keep us on a straight and narrow path, Yahweh. We thank you for this gathering. We thank you for the word that went forth today. We thank you for every individual here within the sound of my voice, all the men, the women, the children, each and every one of us, Yahweh. We ask that you send a special blessing upon this place. Let your spirit indwell this place and indwell each and every one of us, that our bodies may truly be a temple unto you, where your spirit is housed on this earth, where your spirit dwells, Yahweh. Let it be love, righteousness, and unity among us. Let it be no strife, no discord, nothing but peace, love, and unity, as you would have us to be. Let us walk upright and walk on one accord. Yahweh, we thank you for this word. We thank you for the food that we're about to receive. Let it be for the nourishment of our bodies, Yahweh Elohim. Yahweh, we humble ourselves before you again, and we just ask that all of our ways be pleasing in your sight. We ask that each and every one of us has the spirit to continue to walk upright, that we may endure unto the end. We know many people have walked with you, Yahweh, for a year or 2 years or 5 years, but did not endure unto the end. But your word says, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. Allow us to endure to the end, Yahweh. Allow us not to get worried. Allow us not to get faint. Don't let our patience run out. We know the word in the book of Revelation says that Satan is trying to wear out the patience of the saints of the Most High. Let us not be worried, Yahweh, but let us be patient. Let us be diligent, and let us seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto us. We thank you, Yahweh. We love you and we praise you. We praise your holy and righteous name. We thank you for Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, who shed his blood for the remission of our sins. We thank you for the spirit of truth that your word says will lead and guide us into all truth. We truly thank you for this brotherhood that we have established, this family that we have established from Cincinnati to Dayton. We ask that it continues, that we continue to establish this. So again, Almighty, we thank you. We send praises up into the heavens before your throne. We know that the prayers of the righteous avail as much. We thank you for answering all of our prayers. The prayers that we have just come before you over a week or so ago, that you answered our prayers even in that matter, Yahweh. And we thank you. We praise you. We say all these things in the name of the Almighty Yah and his son Yahweh Shah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.